Am I good to go?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I cut you off, and I feel bad about that.
Oh, it's all good.
Go ahead.
All right.
Now we have our cold open.
Hi again, listeners. Thank you for joining us for another Pleasant Evenings Book Club. Today I'm joined by Roberto, Hannah, and, yours truly is also present, Corbin. I'll go ahead and allow Hannah to do a recap of what we discussed last time.
All right. So as you recall, in our previous episode, our girl Nellie, she had received an assignment from her boss at the journalism factory, wherein she was asked to sort of get herself committed to a madhouse, which she did by essentially going to stay at the worst hotel ever and acting really weird to everyone there. She was then taken to court, where a very nice judge sentenced her to insanity. She was then taken to Bellevue Hospital, where things were all right, but pretty shitty, and she consumed beef tea, notable, and met a very nice Irish lady who liked pennies. Yes, I'm assuming if you're listening to the recap, then you recall some of this, and I'm being hyperbolic. But from there, she was taken by boat to the insane asylum, and I believe right where we left off was when she was sort of taken into the asylum, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Killer recap.
Hey, I mean, I tried. I can. Do you want me to go in more detail? We can cut that one out. I just thought it'd be funny.
No,
that's good.
All right.
For sure.
It's fine if you're here. It's either because you didn't want to hear about how she got into the madhouse, our brave hero Nellie, or you're just brave. What? Yeah. If for some reason you skip part 1, I think that's what you need to know.
I guess we should just recap this again. Obviously, whatever language is used in this 18th century story is not necessarily what we stand for today. We expressed this in part 1, but it still stands in part 2.
Right, where it's like insane and, maniac and lunacy, are no longer appropriate. Today we would use words like cock and beta and...
Yeah, woke moralist.
Woke moralist, yes.
Guilty pencil too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the other essential catch-up. So what you needed to know is she made it onto the island, and we're not bad, and you actually can't cancel us because we already said nuh-uh.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, right. Anything we say is 100 years ago, so free pass.
Yeah. So our first introduction, I guess, to the island is a little horsey ride up from the docks to the main grounds. We're introduced to a nurse, Miss Group. They say she got a nice German face, but that's a facade. We find out very soon that she's not nice. She takes everyone into the building to get processed. She's there with a couple of other people that were in the hospital that were thought to be mentally unsound. There's one woman called Louise Schanz. She can only speak German, and now we get a sense of how much these people don't actually care about the patient. The doctor there, I believe his name was Dr. Kinnear, and he asked Miss Group to translate because she's German, but apparently she's shy about her nationality and refuses to translate. So they just kind of, fill out her paperwork and let her through. Nellie knows that she seemed sane. Like, the people that Nellie sees there, they're all sane and try to plead their case for why they shouldn't be there. They're swiftly dismissed. These are the people, we'll see them return a lot. So this is Tilly Mayard, and Neville. Both Anne Neville seemed perfectly sane, but like she kind of worked herself to exhaustion. She worked as a chambermaid. And Tilly Mayard, we don't get much on her backstory before, but I think it was a nervous condition.
Yeah, nervous debilitation. Yeah. Her friends brought her, right?
Yeah.
Damn. Imagine if you're friends. Yeah, imagine if you're friends, like.
Oh yeah. No, that's I think we'll see as we go that because Nellie Bly she knows she's getting out. She doesn't fully feel the despair of being in there, but Tilly Mayard is like our window into the truer, so to speak, the truer experience of someone who is forced into these places and what it can do to you.
Right.
Yeah, so we do get a more up close view of how they're processed when Nellie Bly as Nellie Moreno is being interviewed by the doctor. We see up close just how much they don't care, because the doctor is more interested in flirting with the nurse than he is in actually looking at her. He just asks the nurse what color eyes she has. The nurse says gray, and they go, okay, they write it down, even though Nellie herself says her eyes are brown.
Yeah, that whole conversation is really weird. It's something about the way that they flirt like any two people would, but at the same time, like what they do while they do this is, condemn people casually to like eternity. Yeah, yeah, right. It's just. Like imagine you go to hell and like the demons there to torment you are just kind of like winking at each other and like looking a little flirty. It's just like, oh fuck y'all,
Yeah, and then you're kind of part of it. You're a prop in their flirting, because like she's like measuring her height, and she's like, oh, I don't know how to do it. And he's like, oh yes you do, and he's like teasing her with that.
Right.
Yeah, I would feel very
more like an object than a person for real, like in an actual sense.
Yeah, the particular object, it's already bad enough to be an object, and then that object is a third wheel.
Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Even worse, a conversation piece, like.
I think like part of the reason why we wanted to read this book was just to get a sense of what it's like there. So we see in the narrative just like how much the doctors don't care. We get a little description of the environment. Nellie Bly puts focus on like this like long empty room with just like a table in the middle and some benches that she says that are made to hold 5 people, but usually they have like 6 inmates crowded onto them. All the windows are barred. And she notes how everything is clean, spotless. She's thinking, "Oh, how nice that the nurses work so hard to keep it clean." Yeah, just set up, right?
Right. Obvious foreshadowing.
We see how they're kind of forced to move around, like they're like being like all the people are like put into a group and made to stand. I don't know who has PTSD from grade school of like having the angry teacher try to get all the kids in line and yelling at all of them.
Yeah,
Awful.
yeah. No, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
School is a prison.
Boys and girls, separate lines.
Oh, that's another layer of that, I guess. They're taking to eat dinner, and we get one of Nellie Bly's favorite writing exercises, which is describing gross food.
She's all about her her slurries and her gruels and her
Little micro food review, food critique in the middle of this investigation.
Like, yeah, like we'll say like she describes like how a day is, and then she'll say, and basically every day was like that, and then just throw in some episodes here and there, but she will not miss an opportunity to describe the food.
Yeah.
But I guess like that stands out when she finds like a spider in her bread.
Oh yeah, dude. I found a spider in my weed once. That was crazy. Sorry.
You threw the
But
whole thing to the trash.
I was thinking that like just in general, like food back then would have been like on a whole kind of worse, and the fact that she's saying it's even worse than that must be like this is practically poison. But I think that speaks to the fact that in one of the scenes she describes like a mealtime, and she's like a fat woman sat down and ate like 5 plates of everything, stole them from everyone else, and I'm like, yo, how many spiders did she just swallow? Like, I guess she's well over giving a fuck, but I'm not. Like, what the fuck? Like.
I thought it was a little unnecessary to call the woman fat.
Well, sure, but again, we're using the language of the time. That's literally what she said. Yeah, that's literally what she said.
She actually...
yeah, I'm not, hey, not coming from me, coming from Nellie.
Yeah, I don't know if her angle there was just to give a overview of, like, look at all these kinds of people that are here.
I think it was like to show the sort of dehumanizing brutality of their situation, like where it's almost like an animalistic image to see like the largest one sort of taking all the food for itself. Do you know what I mean? Like it calls to mind like like suckling piglets or something like that, yeah, which are obviously treated pretty poorly, Mm-hmm. To me, it's like a reduction in their humanity, and that's I think why she chose to show it like that. Like, one, this woman can't get enough to eat for her personal needs. 2, the food that she's eating is slop. 3, she's stealing it from everyone else in order to eat it. Like,
it seems to be like part of the process of like moving into the institution is learning to force down the food.
Right.
So all the people that are new can't eat it, but she does say it did not require much time for the patients to consume all that was eatable on the table. So, yeah, like, because that's something that comes up a lot is the hunger. Mm-hmm. Like, whenever any of the patients are, like, she talks about how that's, like, one of the patients' like favorite activities favorite topics to talk about is what they're going to eat when they get out.
Right.
So yeah, it really forces them into this stuff. And they don't even get beef tea. They get pinkish looking stuff which the patients called tea.
Pinkish?
Why would it be pink?
That is drugged water, I think.
My special tea.
It's that cough syrup. That coating.
Right. Nah, Seroquel, boy. It's that Seroquel straight up.
Pepto-Bismol to help with the rest of it.
Yeah, Pepto-Bismol and Seroquel. Actually sounds kind of fun. Threw a little Benadryl in there. Yeah. Call it the Pink Panther.
She was a product of her time.
I wonder what great recipes we'll come up with if we read The Jungle. Like, we're on the roll with this stuff.
I think I read The Jungle, and pretty sure I read that for my senior year of college. Like, I think I had to write about it in my thesis. I either read about it or like faked reading about it well enough that I feel like I read it, But
I never read it.
Did you get any good kitchen ideas from it? Because like we're on a roll with this one.
Well, I've already eaten my entire hand, so.
Okay. I assume that's something for the Sinclair heads out there to enjoy.
Right. On that subject, though, I was reading about the Donner Party a little bit ago, and I don't know why, I just... weird that cannibalism's come up twice today. I don't consider myself like a cannibalism fanatic, so I guess that's why I'm kind of shocked.
These things come in threes.
That was 2. Is somebody going to get eaten? Like, I don't understand.
I'll just let that hang there.
Yeah, right. Like, about to get murdered by a cannibal, I bet. Like,
as we move from the eating hall to the bathroom, when it's time to give everyone a bath, we get maybe I don't know if anyone has any other highlights, but to me, this was the most inexplicable thing in the whole book. So everyone's made to go into the bathroom where there's a tub full of really cold water, and they tell Nellie to undress so they can dunk her in there. And I'm just gonna read what she saw. At this, I noticed one of the craziest women in the ward standing by the filled bathtub with a large discolored rag in her hands. She was chattering away to herself and chuckling in a manner which seemed to me fiendish. I knew now what was to be done with me. I shivered.
Me when I... Sorry. I don't know. That's really something. I'm glad it was just a bath.
She says it's the craziest one, so I assume she's a patient, and they go and they.
It seems to me that these nurses aren't doing very much of the manual labor.
Dude, yeah. Okay, so I think these nurses are like, I don't want to touch the people. They're gross. I'm just going to ask a person to touch another person.
I'm not going to clean. They can clean.
Right. Because there's a lot of instances of, like, the nurses just passing on the tasks, you know?
Oh, yeah. So, because it's a reveal that it's all the cleaning is done by the patients.
Right.
And they sew all the clothes.
And being that, like, a forced bath sounds like the worst thing, like, in the world to be on either side of. It's maybe, like, you can maybe see the rationale in them, like, it's just they pick the craziest one with the strongest arms and, like, the most of mice and men dead rabbits, and just let them have at it.
Okay. Like the way she's described with the fiendish laugh, I'm picturing like good news, you get to watch the patients again. She's like hee 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 hee. Like
they call her Laura. They call her Laura Sponges Johnson. Like she's.
I mean, it's a powerful position in a place where you'd usually be powerless. So.
Well, I get the sense that she's just like literally like raving mad. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's anything like that.
They might have, it's probably they just like gave her the towel and had her just do it.
I didn't even get the sense that this was like an insanity case. Do you know what I mean? This to me seems like more like a severely disabled person. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody with like an actual like, you know what I mean? Like somebody who's, whose arm posture other people would make fun of. You know what I mean? Like somebody like that, who is just like, like raving and like, not even maybe aware of the amount of force that they're exerting. They're just like, bathe the patient. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of how I took it. That's what I envisioned. My mom actually worked with severely disabled people for a while. She was a social worker. I mean, meta commentary aside on that. But, like, I've interacted with people that are, like, just very, like, not present. And not as, like, a function of, like, classical mental illness descent into madness. Do you know what I mean? It's like a genetic condition, They're just, it's like a severe mental deficiency. It's like, it's purely biological, but back then they wouldn't have differentiated. I don't think.
I'm pretty sure they would have ended up in the same boat.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. If perfectly healthy women end up there too, why not?
Oh yeah, they would have locked my ass up, dude. I would have been 10 times nuts by their standards. I already know.
Well, like we were saying before, is as easy as being outcasted.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Make enough people uncomfortable in that shelter, and you're off.
Yeah, there's 2 cases of people just being there because they can't speak English.
That's so stupid. I just like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense historically, and like but I just like you hate to see it. You hate to see it.
Yeah, it just kind of revealed that it's just like this place just where they throw women they don't know what to do with.
Well, what's the word she uses for them? Unfortunates? I mean, they're not unfortunate because they're insane. They're unfortunate because they're, like, just downtrodden by society and dumped in a waste bin,
Right. One of them, one of them is like, says that she was brought there under the pretense that that's where you could go if you didn't have much money.
Yeah, she called them because she was just poor, looking for
Right.
support.
Which is insane. Like, imagine, like, you call, like, a mental institution now and you're like, I'm poor. They'll be like, okay, nothing we can do for you.
Yeah, now we have more sophisticated ways of sorting people into piles. You're unfortunate if a doctor can decide that there's something wrong with you, or you're lazy.
Look, now when you're poor, you go to jail. So
Yeah. That was what I was thinking. Like, this institution has, like, how many people was it? Like 3,600?
Right.
Like,
A bunch. I remember it being like thousands, but I don't remember the total.
And, you know, maybe not so much in 1897, but over the years, like, the prison population in the United States is, of course, astronomical.
Right.
Like, I was wondering, like, we should look if there are any prison memoirs that are worth looking into. But it's
Would be a good idea.
like, I guess, yeah, it's not over. Like, even here, like, I guess I'm skipping ahead, but at the end of it, I didn't feel much like hope for things getting much better. They just like say that the hospital got $1 million more.
Well, I was going to ask how you all felt about whether or not she made a effective change for these people.
Yeah, I don't know that she did. I mean, something must have happened between then and now, because things are, like, a little bit better. It's my understanding. Like, I know a few people have been, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I personally have not, but my understanding is it isn't quite that shitty. I mean, there are, like, a lot of institutional problems still, of course, but, like...
Yeah, there's more standards. Yeah, when I was in a place, like, at least, like, I couldn't really say anyone was mean.
Maybe this impression is incorrect, but it seems to me that today there seems to be more of a therapy focus along with psychiatry.
Yeah, well, now it's more normal for more people to have therapy, like, outside of being, you know, in an outpatient facility.
Right.
Like, so, yeah, more people.
We love therapy. We love therapy. We love our therapist.
Yeah, and like now, like those places, when I was there for like a week and a half.
Uh-huh.
I had a psychologist like talk to me maybe once every 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
To do like real like talk through it work. But the rest of the time, like, the people that are there are put there because like talk therapy is like a lot more normal, and like access to, you know, antipsychotics and antidepressants and, you know, whatever else is easier. But the people that are there because they're at a very extreme point, I guess. So it is mostly just like a place with like very little stimulus, where most of the time you're either left to be in your room or like in a room where there's some tables, and during the day there's like a half hour where you get to go to an activities room where there's some computers and like playing cards and things, and then they like lock that up. You get that's when like I don't know, like an occupational therapist or something would come in. Like the people that were there, like I felt like I was, you know, maybe everyone feels that way. I felt like I was lucky to be to have my head screwed on as much as it was. Because yeah, there were people that you see there, that you can't really see like behind their eyes much. Like they're just kind of sitting. Like some people are like can't speak, just like make sounds, or they're like in like delusion. Like I met a guy there who, I guess it was kind of a Nellie Bly thing. He said he didn't know how he got to Cincinnati, that he was from Kentucky and he was just walking when they found him. Like he didn't speak very clearly, but The two things I got was that he's Jesus and that gays are gonna burn in hell.
Oh yeah, both of those things were probably true. So please cut that out. Don't keep that in there. I'm bi, everyone. I'm not. I'm kidding.
This feels like the most dangerous episode we've done yet.
Hey, I like that though. I like that though.
Okay, so I did have a stereotypical, I guess, breakthrough moment talking to the therapist whenever I did get actual talk time. Because again, like, yeah, so like, it's mostly to keep people there to chill out. But yeah, like coming out of there, I did feel for a while like worse than I did coming in.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the way that you like the like losing control. You know, it's like a hospital off the side of the road in Cincinnati. Like it's not really, there wasn't really a way to go out into any kind of garden or anything like that. For a while, like just like one half of one floor, like just like one wing of a hospital was my entire world. Like I couldn't move, you know, past certain doors.
Wow. That's kind of what the pandemic was like for at least a week or two.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's true.
When it first cracked and everybody was like, "Can I even order food without disinfecting the pizza box first?"
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah, that's how I felt in that period. I was like, okay, I am the box that I live in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so weird how for a while, like, people wouldn't even go outside to be, like, in the park out of, like, which now, like, looking back, like, of course you could be outdoors, especially if there's no one else there.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember it took me a while to want to go for a walk, and when I did, I was nervous. I remember going to the grocery store wearing gloves and, like, a mask, you know what I mean? like being scared of it, like, getting my shit home, looking really closely at it, disinfecting it, thinking about whether or not anyone around me had coughed, you know, like...
Literally the first day of shutdown, Erin stepped on a nail and went through her fucking foot and shoe. And we had to take her to fucking urgent care to...
oh my god, that's the worst place to be.
It's like, oh, darn it. Literally, this was the day that they ordered the shutdown, and here we are going to urgent care. It's like, oh, fuck. We're going to get COVID now?
Right.
Didn't to my knowledge, but...
We need another pandemic. I'm kidding. I don't...
I know we got another pandemic. It just won't... we'll just let people die this time, though.
What?
We've got another pandemic. We got a COVID surge, and we've got monkeypox now.
Dude, yeah, I'm like gay enough to be vulnerable to monkeypox, I bet.
And you don't even have to be like... It's airborne. It's more like smallpox.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like it's not like respiratory, but still like it's still like being in the room with someone with smallpox for a long time. Like you collect samples of the air and like you'll see transmissible like samples of the virus.
What the fuck?
Like I've heard people talk about like how it's kind of dangerous to call it another your Republicans will just call it a gay STI. Probably call it something worse.
Yeah, no, it's good to get out ahead of it because I'm looking at a Marjorie Taylor Greene right now tweet that says that a tweet that she says that says if this is a gay STD, then why are kids getting it? And that's like, okay, we gotta
because of the groomers. Yeah, that's where it's getting even more dangerous.
Right. That's obviously really bad rhetoric.
That's concerning.
The degree of transmissibility, like, there's no way people are fucking this much. Like, in the United States, to go from, like, 0 to 1,000 cases of COVID or 1 to 1,000 cases of COVID took, like, 57 days. Uh-huh. And 1 to 1,000 cases of smallpox was, like, 62 or something.
Right.
I get that people are excited after the pandemic, but there's no way people are having sex so much that the rate of transmissibility is the same as a respiratory illness.
Lord knows I'm not.
So yeah, like skin to skin contact seems to be the worst thing. I'm not getting a lot like...
Damn, that's exactly what I've been craving lately too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I haven't seen much in terms of resources for like testing or anything advertised. So I don't know. So I guess like just something to look out for.
Right.
Could be bad. maybe it won't be.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything's pretty bad these days.
Yeah, either way, like bad or good, like they're not gonna do anything about it anyways.
Doomer moment aside.
Oh yeah, well there we go. We got that out of the way. The way the book is written, sometimes it felt like the structure was a little loose, because they don't describe until later how the water isn't changed out between baths until it gets like thick, and then they would throw it out and change it.
That's so gross. What do you mean by thick? Ugh.
Yeah. Maybe see. Let me see if I wrote down.
No, you read that correctly. I recall
Okay.
No,
that.
it's correct. It's correct. I glossed over it then because I didn't want to think about it when I read it, but now that we're here and we're talking about it, it's like, what do they mean by thick? What do they mean by thick?
Yeah, to get to that point, they do a lot of that. Then later in the next morning, there's only 2 towels to clean their face that everyone has to share, and she says that she saw some people do the most violent eruptions into it.
Yeah. She describes them as women with eruptions.
That's acne, right?
I'm assuming that. I'm assuming it could be boils or just like any skin, monkeypox, any kind of skin disease.
Oh,
Just any kind of deviation from.
sorry. I thought it was just like boogies. I thought they were just blowing their noses.
Could be that. That's what I mean. I think pretty much anything that leaks a substance is on the table here.
Yeah, anything that could be described as an eruption, I don't want to share with a stranger.
What about a lava cake?
I will split a lava cake.
How many people were in Hall 6? Because this was the.
Was it 40 people?
God, that's gross. 2 towels.
Yeah, 2 towels for
40 people.
How many? If you take 40 people, how many of them have eruptions?
I'm gonna. Yeah, there can't be that many bad apples.
It is 18, whatever. So
At least 2/3, right?
yeah, probably 2/3 of them have some form of eruption.
There's like some like clicks or something when they're giving some outside times. I'm starting the train again. When they're given some outside time, there's a moment where like she like sees some people and they say those are the meanest ones in the island or something. They go to the lodge.
I was thinking Twin Peaks when they said that.
I was 100% thinking Twin Peaks.
It's kind of hard not to be.
I tried Googling for this outside of it, but I could only find other references to 10 Days on a Madhouse. But I'm going to read this bit of like the other people that they find about something that she sees when she's outside. A long cable rope fastened to wide leather belts, and these belts locked around the waists of 52 women. At the end of the rope was a heavy iron cart, and in it 2 women, one nursing a sore foot, another screaming at some nurse saying, "You beat me and I shall not forget it. You want to kill me." And then she would sob and cry. The women on the rope, as the patients call it, were each busy on their individual freaks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a hellish image, but...
Yeah, worst Dark Souls boss I've ever fought.
Yeah, the chariot of the infirm.
Chariot of erupting women.
And we do that to kids these days.
Are you talking about the fucking leashes? Are you talking about kid leashes?
Yes.
Those are not the same thing, dude. What?
No, it's not the same thing, but it gets them started early in a similar concept of fucking lack of autonomy to even walk around outside.
Look,
This is where we find out that as a child, Corbin was tied to leather belt to a heavy iron cart with 52 other children.
What, that didn't happen to you guys?
There's an analogy to be made there.
They did it for a whole year and called it kindergarten.
Kindergarten was just being strapped to a cart.
They do that. Kindergartens do that, though.
I remember my dad used to say, "Time for kindergarten, son," and then he would tie me to the parking meter and go to the bar. Good time.
The rats were my teachers, and they taught me everything I needed to know.
I got a coloring book, but no crayons. They said, use your imagination, and that was the greatest lesson I could have ever.
Alright. I've been seeing colors ever since.
Yeah, these are like the onboarding images. This is when, like, I mean, how scary is it to see that and then like wonder, like, are they gonna put me in there? Like, is this by rotation?
Right, like what circle of hell are they on versus me?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit where speaking of circle of hell, right? There's a bit where Nellie Bly like looks at a sign that says, "While I live, I hope," and she said, "It should better say, abandon hope, all ye who enter here."
Right, it's like the hell is real sign in Ohio. It's just like a little too suited to like to its.
So here's where we get the biggest sketch of what daily life is. So if you're not tied to the cart or passing out from a fever due to being constantly cold and not eating well at all and eating spiders, you're just made to sit still from like 6 a.m. to 8.
Which, good lord.
And yeah, so like she wonders like how can anyone not go crazy from that. Like some doctors look at Nellie Bly and the doctors say that she looks normal, and the superintendent just says in cases like hers such tests fail. Just like, trust me, she's crazy. Why else would she be here?
What kind of sane person turns down spider bread?
But yeah, I think that's what we get for their daily routine. I did skip around. We didn't like talk about like how the nights were, but it's kind of a more intense version of what we expected. Like the nurses walk around, they open every door and they have to unlock it. They peek in, they shine a lantern, and they lock it harshly again. And they do that for every door, and she can hear each one.
They did try to drug her at one point to make her sleep.
Yeah.
I guess this is the most extreme difference.
And there is a difference between also, like, when she's moved from Hall 6 to Hall 7, it seems like Hall 7's a little scarier. Like, I don't have the exact quote, but there's a patient who's running around looking for someone to kill. Did I read that right?
She's looking to kill Lucifer, right?
Yeah, she was having like a very specific delusion about Lucifer specifically.
Gonna kill the devil.
Yeah, eventually it says that this patient, she believes she succeeds, and the nurses tease her by pointing at some painting and saying that that's the devil, and they get her riled up again. But what seems to happen all the time is that these nurses are like, they're cruel, they're not just like mean, they're not just like they want you to fall in line, but they'll tease you if they think they can.
Mm-hmm.
They'll gaslight,
gatekeep, girl boss.
Yeah, they'll do all of that. There's an old woman, right, who's blind, and they keep trying to make her sit. But then when she's walking around, they'll laugh at her as she's like bumping into things.
Yeah, I think that was like a newcomer or something. She like didn't even know where she was, which is like, ugh.
Yeah, God, that's so sad.
She just wanted to go back to bed. That's what she wanted.
She keeps like trying to take her shoes off, but they have like the inmates like they have like 7 at a time force her down to like put her shoes back on. There's a woman who I guess is like negligence. There's like a woman who straight up dies, right? Of like fever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they leave her and then they come back and she's dead. Yeah, I recall that.
What was it? That was one of the most extreme ones too. They like beat her in the tub or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of them were like pseudo waterboarded, where like a pillowcase was put over their head and they were just dunked in water. You know.
Yeah. This new patient comes in who she says she's 33, but she says she's 18. The nurses say, the doctors say you're 33, and they tease her about her age until she gets mad. And then when she does, they start like beating her and choking her. and they take her to a room to choke her.
Eesh.
And then they go out and they start like picking fights with other inmates. Like that, she says something like Nellie Bly something about the punishment made her wanna this is Miss Grady. She's the head nurse, so like this is the culture. It made her want to go out and punish more people. Yeah, the punishment seemed to awaken their desire to administer more. They returned to the sitting room and caught hold of an old gray-haired woman, whom I have heard addressed as both as Mrs. Grady and Mrs. O'Keefe. She was insane, and she talked almost continually to herself and to those near her. She never spoke aloud at the time, and at the time I speak of was sitting harmlessly chattering to herself. They grabbed her, and my heart aches as she cried, "For God's sake, ladies, don't let them beat me." "Shut up, you hussy," said Mrs. Grady. I guess that was like a bad word. "Shut up, you hussy," said Miss Grady, as she caught the woman by her gray hair and dragged her shrieking and pleading from the room. She was taken to the closet, and her cries grew louder and lower and then ceased. Yeah, there's some like really gnarly descriptions of like brutality.
Yeah, I remember at this point in the book, I was just sitting there in like a state of like weird horror, you know what I mean? I was like, oh god, this is just like one brutal thing after another. Ironically, I was getting ready to go get lunch, and I like kept putting it off for like 20 minutes because I kept losing my appetite. But yeah, it was really made my stomach turn a couple times.
I think that's in the chapter called like choking and beating the patients. There's one that they're teasing to try to say weird things to another one of the nurses, but I guess maybe she's like learned not to, like she refuses, and then Miss Grady, the head nurse, I repeat, the head nurse, Miss Grady, like pretends to go in to tell her a secret and spits into her ear.
Yeah. What the fuck?
I don't know how'd you feel about the way the book was like structured?
Oh, I hated it. I can't lie.
It seemed kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah, I wish she had like maintained some semblance of order. Like I obviously get that sometimes you're gonna want to bounce around a little, especially in like a journalistic narrative style, but sometimes like just trying to like follow it from beginning to end was really confusing. I mean, and you know, her prose is pretty clear and well written, so it doesn't seem like it had to be that way. It would just be like, you know, like at one point she would think of something from the end of the story, and she'd be like, "Oh, I have to talk about this now," you know. But that like really like throws off your order of events, you know, like or how your head processes that information. At least for me, you know.
Yeah, like there's an example of the thick water that doesn't get brought up until later.
Right.
The conversation about fire risk just kind of in the middle of some chapter.
Yeah, that one, I thought we're going to get more of stuff like that where, like, something happens and she wants to talk more about the context.
Right.
Okay, she's waiting, she's thinking about the fire, and she thinks back to a conversation, talks about the general, like, way that it's unsafe and what the doctor told her.
Well, and like, I'm all about the slimes and gruels, but she spends like a little bit too much time on the food in a way that maybe like discredits her as a writer, and that sometimes it seems like she is just really picky. Like, no offense, and I mean, like, I have no doubt the food was gross. Like, I seriously, I genuinely believe it was, but like the way she's like, oh, and the food was horrid, you know? I mean, like, you know, if every other paragraph you say that, do you know what I mean? It just like starts to lose some of its luster and make it feel like you're just complaining. And you know, far be it from Nellie Bly to, you know, I mean, she rises from the grave and canceled me where I stand, so be it. But it's just I'm just criticizing her writing, not the intent of her message, you know?
Yeah, and it's not even like, yeah, like it's like her prose is fine, but like this could have used a second draft or something. It feels first drafty.
I was willing to attribute a lot of its sloppiness to the way that she initially published it, which was in like, you know, like one chapter at a time as like sort of like a newspaper, like a continued newspaper article, right? You know, in that context, I could understand maybe jumping around a little bit more, you know, like what we're reading technically wasn't meant to be read as a single piece from beginning to end, at least in its initial conception.
I mean, does it excuse the weird focus on food and some of the jumpiness? probably not. I think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, I think like I mean food makes sense because like you can describe it like that's like direct physical proof
Abuse.
of abuse. Yeah, of things not being up to code. You know, like up to a standard that people should expect.
Especially in a doctor-patient context.
I was wondering how she was gonna structure it. Like, there wasn't really gonna be like rising action and climax and all that because we knew she was gonna be there until she left. There is the one bit that's like laid out like a story, but it's kind of laid out like a Dark Souls NPC side quest where she just like checks in on Tilly Maynard.
Finds her in like different, increasingly grotesque positions.
Yeah.
With like increasingly like nonsensical like and bleak things to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
conniptions.
I guess like
gives me conniptions.
Yeah. So in the spirit of how the book kind of jumps around, and like now we're just kind of jumping around, because yeah, she's there, things happen, and she leaves. Yeah. Do you want to get into like Tilly Maynard's fate?
She was really tragic. That was a tragic character.
Right. But she becomes sort of like the poster child. Oh, go ahead.
We don't really know if she like survives the experience either, or because she's not seen again when she goes back with the jury.
Oh yeah, a lot of those people disappear, which is super fucked up. But anyway, neither.
Yeah, I guess we'll circle back to that.
We're continuing jumping around a bit.
And just like the author again, like I don't know that we can be faulted.
But yeah, Tilly Maynard, like she, like if I had to compare it to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, she's like the young guy.
Billy Bibbit, right?
Yeah, she's like the Billy Bibbit character.
That was another tragic character.
She, Nellie and Miss Neville seem to be like friends, like talk to each other. They see something and you'll hear Neville be like, "Oh, these poor creatures," or Tilly say, "She like, oh, like this food's bad." Like they go in together. Nellie Bly has to like then distance herself from Tilly because she goes crazy in a way that's like she believes that Nellie is trying to take over her identity. And whenever someone goes to see Nellie, because I guess her story's famous somehow, her fake story of being the Cuban woman who looks like the judge's sister.
I kind of didn't like how famous she was in all of this. Do you know what I mean? I felt like it, it made I don't want to like derail you, but to me it diluted like a little bit of her experiment that she was national news or something. I was like, all right. But anyway,
yeah, there was something.
I'll let you go back. Something weird about that factoid. I kind of didn't like that it panned out that way.
Yeah, it was an odd thing. It definitely changed the tone. Like, I guess I would like if this was a fiction, right? You'd want the danger of like, oh no, what if she's stuck there? You'd want, that would be the threat that's like looming behind like every gesture.
Oh yeah,
from
but
the
they
nurses.
rein it in though. You know what I mean? Like people would be showing up, but she wouldn't be a sensation. You know what I mean? Like there would be people looking for her. I think if this were fiction, but I don't think she would be like a news phenomenon. Like she's implied to be in this, which is.
Yeah. So there must have been like some leaks or something that made people want to check in. Maybe like the Wikipedia did say that she like did like check in with the state first to tell them that she was going to do this. So maybe they were just people to make sure that she wasn't being killed or anything.
Yeah, but I was kind of wondering that because, again, not to like jump around, but she sort of transfers from she leaves and then immediately she's before a grand jury. I was like, where did a grand jury even come from? I thought this was for a news piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of threw me. I don't know how that would have happened if she wasn't in contact with some
must have
governing
been
authority. Like right.
But anyways, for sure Tilly doesn't know about any of it, so like that must contribute to her breakdown. where she's like, she must have had a hard time to end up there, and then she's there, and it's even worse. And then her friend is getting all this attention suddenly, like completely unexplained. And so like maybe just like her hope and her jealousy get mixed up into this thing where then she thinks that I could be getting out. They could be taking me out, but Nellie somehow Nellie Brown is taking that chance from me or something. Like, man, it's so sad like how that.
I mean, because she's not so far off. I mean, Nellie was.
She was lying about who she was, and it's true.
I mean, to her too. So like,
She might have picked up on some of that.
must have picked up on that. Yeah, that vibe, and who knows, in some fractalized other dimension, if Nellie Bly never did this, maybe Tilly would have gotten that attention. Who knows?
But I like feeling suspicious and upset. Like maybe there was something to why she ended up there. Like that, the specificity of her delusion is a little bit like some of that. Like she must have brought herself, right?
I mean, she was the anxious one, right?
Yeah.
The nervous debilitation, yeah.
I mean, being in that environment and already being nervously debilitated, like,
Yeah, no, it could just happen.
You're gonna go. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say I'm nervously debilitated. A bad day at work will put me over the edge. Yeah, I can only imagine.
There's like a kind of anxious paranoia that's like everyone's fake. They actually hate me.
Right.
Or they pretend to be my friends, but they're actually no, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if this is the time to share. I have another story of my time in the hospital.
It is.
There was a patient there who like she was there because she was having like this like manic episode. Like we were in the room with the tables and she's just saying over and over again, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I think just like waiting for someone to like ask her why she's happy. And I look over and then she says, God is talking to me.
Oh no.
Yeah. But there's a beat and then she says through the Bible. So I just like, I lock in on that. I was like, okay. So I thought that would be like her whole deal. But the other thing was that she like was in love with this football player called Mark Sanchez.
Who is that? I feel like I've heard that name before.
I asked a friend. Apparently he's famous because he did the butt fumble where he ran into someone's butt and dropped the ball.
He's handsome, I guess. I don't think, you know what I mean? It's weird to fixate on that.
She would tell me about how like they were gonna get married. She would like ask me to teach her Spanish so that she could impress him with her Spanish.
Huh.
But like the fact that they would meet was already assumed. And the fact that he would love it was already assumed.
Damn, that's gotta be nice. That certainty.
that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the attitude you want to go in with. That's like a strange like intense happiness. Like it's like a manic thing. But I just thought of that. It just reminded me of her when Tilly came in with this delusion. Like maybe it's like a pattern. Maybe like acute stress like brings out these like obsessive thoughts.
No, I think that's true-ish. I mean, obviously they're going to be, it's not always going to be the case, but stress is a huge factor in how we live. I don't know.
Yeah. And then, like I want like Nellie Bly does like I think it's like she's overall sympathetic, but she does like note that there are people that belong in a place where they can be taken care of. And it's just really sad to see like this place is just not that at all.
Yeah, it was like a devastating, I think, story. It left me with like a pretty strong feeling of disgust when I finished it. You know, like it took me a couple hours to kind of pull myself out of it, even. Like even like more than other things we've read, because I knew that there was like a reality to it, and like the way that the horrifying things are described isn't for emphasis, it's just for like factual like recounting, you know what I mean, minus the food. I guess that's like why, you know, I mean, you can read a lot of existential horror, but like nothing is as horrifying as the way people have actually existed, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's that stuff that inspires all the existential horror.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reason that madness is held over everyone's head like this, you know, this monstrous threat in Lovecraft's work and in The King in Yellow is because madness is genuinely horrifying, and when you are mad, the alienation you experience from the world is sort of like a second horror upon the first, you know? Like, it's just,
Yeah, just like it multiplies everything.
Oh, yeah. I guess all that's left is sort of the post-book.
Yeah, I guess we like, for the people out there, if they want to read this, like, it is a quick read. It is very engaging. Like, we were like ragging on the structure a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not like it'll wear you down or anything. You know what I mean? Like, you'll blow through it and then find that you think it's a little oddly organized. You know?
Yeah.
But not structurally. I mean, just prose wise and statement wise, and there's clarity there. I never not knew what was going on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I guess look, we're definitely leaving stuff out. Like, there's a million examples of how life there is, you know, like life in Blackwell was like poor quality. Like, I don't know if someone came in with good intentions and got worn down or what. Like, here's where if I had actually read any Foucault, I might say something about prisons or something.
I mean, even if someone
Corbin's read some Foucault, right? You're a resident Foucault boy. Hit me with that Foucault.
All right,
so even if an individual nurse had come in with good intentions, the culture there would quickly take over. Would probably be the closest Foucault take.
I think that's shown in the end results of like maybe the interaction with the grand jury. I mean, things seem to only improve in very small metrics, and somehow, incredibly, what did they find out an hour in advance that the cops were coming, and somehow this like place pulled it all together and like made it look like everything there was operational and functional. Killed like 4 people that she talked to. I mean, like
disappeared them.
I was amazed that the grand jury at the end found like any credibility in her story, given the amount of like, you know, either the lie that she told or the amount of cover up that they did to like make her seem, you know, like a liar. I'm not really sure what to make of that, but it was like, what do you mean with an hour's notice they got rid of 4 people and like changed everything? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how?
There must have been enough story consistency for the jury.
Well, I mean, shit, she was a national phenomenon. I kind of got the sense in this that, like, maybe the only person that thought she wasn't being a little loud about this was her, sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for fuck's sake, one of her friends came to visit her, and she said, like, out loud to him, like, hey, don't give me up. And I know she said she was super discreet about it, but she had reporters come in, like, she was in the news, like... I saw nothing to indicate that she was any kind of, like, you know, Central or South American, let alone Cuban. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, what? Like, how was
I was say, si, senor, and no, senor.
Yeah, she said, si, senor. She said, si, senor. All right. That's I mean, I guess I have to listen to you. If that's what you say the line is.
Oh. Okay, the weird point when she's leaving, she says, I said adios to the Mexican woman. Like, there was never a Mexican woman until she has to say goodbye to one.
Oh, yeah, but then at the end, when she comes back with the grand jury, she's like, yeah, the Mexican woman was gone, and they said they never had a Mexican woman. And for a second, I was like, are you mad? Like, did you really lose it in there? Like,
Yeah, and like maybe like she only says that she expects that the cleanup happened while they were at Bellevue waiting for the boat. Like I'm not sure exactly like how soon after she left that she came back.
the idea of, like, a whole asylum full of, like, nurses and, like, you know, in some cases barely contained mental patients and doctors, like, essentially doing, like, the college, the high school party, but oh my god, my parents are coming home early and they're a half hour away kind of thing. It's kind of just, like, silly to think about, you know what I mean? Like Yakety Sax starts playing and they're just all running around frantically scrubbing things. Like, I don't,
That's definitely happened at work when I worked at a garage.
Oh, yeah,
There
I could
was
see that.
so much that wasn't up to code, and then I don't know how. I'm guessing just because like the next person up the chain doesn't want to get in trouble. I guess he would let the manager know that okay, some people are coming in to do inspection, and so the day before he'd be like, okay, we need to clean this to hide those chairs.
You're gonna hate to hear this, but I mean, like, so Corbin, this isn't the restaurant we both worked at, so you know. But I worked at a restaurant that also did that. You know what I mean? It was one of the first jobs I ever had.
Yeah, like, I guess
like,
that's
which
gotta
is
be
scary because that makes you freak out. I take. How's that for bad food, Nelly?
no. Every time I hear anything about the behind the scenes of any restaurant, it's never good.
Right.
Kitchen nightmares. I do wonder if they had more time to clean up. I mean, I assume there was a news story from Nellie out before this grand jury case even started.
You know, if anyone's listening to this and they haven't read it, I'm sure you could tell just from context about what we were saying. After she's let out of the madhouse, there's someone comes and picks her up. She gives a testimony to a grand jury talking about the horrible conditions at Blackwell. And when they send over the investigators, everything's different. The boat from the hospital to the island is a different boat. They said that the dirty one that Nellie Bly had come in with was in for repairs or something. When they go, the food isn't nearly as horrible as it was when she was there. There's salt fully on display, even though she said food wasn't salted except for like the first day that she was there. A lot of the more sane people who might have been able to back up Nellie's story, with the exception, I think, of Tilly and Miss Neville, I think, are taken out of sight. Despite all that, I guess there was enough that the grand jury decided that something was up, and they decided to give. I don't know if it's like the city. I guess they give the city $1 million more to take care of the insane. I did want to point. I wanted to like something about like giving the money just kind of feels like like the only thing that happened after the Black Lives Matter protests. I guess 2 years ago. Was that the police got more funding?
Oh my god! Of course,
Right,
they
like
did.
that's pretty much what happened. And like now Joe Biden's like dating the podcast to this time in July. Joe Biden wants to like add like $1 billion more to police, so they can have 100,000 more police now. Like, and like I can see how like the lip thing can be like, oh, they're just underfunded and stretched thin or something, and that because that's the excuse that Superintendent Dent gives. He says that he gives like when they ask him, he says like he had no way to know that things were like this, even though he's shown like being present. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And he gives the excuse that there's just a lack of funds. So,
Sheesh.
like, that's the part that feels like the ending of any given season of The Wire, where, like, certain people who are like a certain cushy jobs can just sort of say the right words to smooth things over, and something is done. A small change is done. Even just raising awareness. I'm sure that maybe after that there was more of an eye a more like critical eye placed on these things. But as far as the book ends at, and the city gave them $1 million.
Ugh. Yeah. Which back then was so much money.
Yeah. Right, what did we see last week? It was like 30 cents was like $8, $8 or $9.
Right, something crazy like that.
That's a lot of money now.
So that's gotta be...
Like hundreds of millions at least.
Yeah. I'm sure they needed it. The part that makes me concerned with that is that it's not like they lack the... Like, they got those rice... I mean, they got the salt barrels out in time for the jury. So they had money to appropriate for that. Like, they had money set up for that.
Well, there's that whole thing where she describes how the nurses eat like raisins and peaches and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like clearly everyone's doing. She talks about how when she walks past the kitchen, she smells nicer food than they're given. You know what I mean? Like, clearly all the money in this is going to feeding those nurses, you know, and you know, Mr. Dent's fat ass himself, you know.
Yeah, so this is something,
Sorry,
I guess...
that's the language of the time, guys. Don't
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Oh.
They also called him a cock.
Yeah. Back then it was...
A fat cuck was what you would call somebody like that. It was actually seen as a compliment. Right.
Yeah, that was like that's like the title of a Charlie Chaplin movie. It's like not even a big deal.
Yeah, it's called The Fat Cuck.
The Fat Cuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone else have anything to add? I think that's